Hello, this is Max. Two young women living on neighboring farms develop a friendship that over time evolves into deeper feeling. Don't forget to subscribe. Abigail and her husband Dyer reside in Schoharie County, a tranquil farming region in upstate New York. Their lives are shadowed by grief following the recent loss of their young daughter, Nellie, to a devastating illness known as diphtheria. On a particularly frigid Tuesday morning in January, with the coldest day of the season upon them, they discover frost in their bedroom for the first time that winter. Abigail rises to commence her duties as a devoted wife, and together, they quietly partake in breakfast before tending to their farm chores. During this somber time, Dyer confides in Abigail that happiness feels like a rare and infrequent guest in his life. Ever since they assumed the responsibilities of running their farm, Dyer diligently maintains a diary recording essential details such as crop performance, the well-being of different parts of the farm, and their annual income. Dyer suggests to Abigail that she also maintain her own diary, jotting down practical matters like any forgotten tools or outstanding bills, but also sharing their unspoken emotions, worries, joyful moments, and innermost thoughts as they navigate their journey together. During a break from her daily routine, Abigail pays a visit to her daughter's resting place. Memories of the moments when Nellie was alive flood her thoughts, and she deeply regrets not expressing her love to her daughter more frequently before their tragic loss. As she returns indoors, she realizes that her sorrow has become an integral part of her existence, a constant presence in her life. On a tranquil Sunday morning in February, the entire community congregates at the church, a time cherished for its solace and serenity. However, Abigail, since the heartbreaking loss of her daughter, no longer participates in these communal gatherings. She has chosen to withdraw from these events, seeking her own path of coping with grief and healing. On this particular Sunday, Abigail decides to assist Dyer with his work. She encounters unfamiliar faces and inquires about them. Dyer introduces them as Finney and Tali, a couple without children who recently moved into a nearby cabin and are now renting the zebra farm. Dyer met them at a feed store. The following Monday, February 4th, while Abigail is engrossed in writing, Dyer overhears her whispering. Curious, he asks her about it, and she reveals her desire to purchase an atlas. Dyer, not considering it a necessary expenditure, playfully suggests that she could instead get him a gift. Tallie observes her husband working with the pigs, a sight that unsettles her to the point where she decides to take a walk. Her stroll leads her to Abigail's residence, where Abigail is busy clearing snow from the porch. After introductions, Abigail warmly invites Tallie inside, an offer that Tallie gratefully accepts. Abigail is immediately captivated by Tallie's presence, and before Tallie departs, Abigail expresses how her visit has uplifted her spirits. On Thursday, February 14th, Dyer has been battling a fever for 3 days. After Abigail offers him a drink, Dyer humorously suggests that he might feign illness more often because it seems to make his wife happy. Abigail earnestly implores him to assure her that he won't succumb to the illness. She does everything in her power to aid in his recovery and spends the day reflecting on her conversation with Tallie. Abigail and Tallie quickly forge a profound and meaningful friendship. Abigail notices and appreciates the nuances of Tallie's presence, from her movements to the texture and tone of her skin, and her gentle, tranquil demeanor that exudes serenity and grace. Tallie inquires about Abigail and Dyer's relationship origins, and Abigail confides that their marriage is more rooted in practicality than love. She opens up to Tallie about their relationship, and in return, Tallie shares insights into her own husband, Finney, noting that he can be contentious and domineering. On Tuesday, February 19th, as they prepare for bedtime, Dyer's customary nighttime desires wane because Abigail declines his repeated requests for another child. The following night, Dyer and Abigail pay a visit to Finney and Tallie at their home. Both couples relish their opportunity to engage in conversation and spend time together. On Monday, February 25th, it's Abigail's birthday. Tallie notices Dyer leaving their house and informs Abigail that he's headed into town. Tallie reassures Abigail that she will be pleased with what lies ahead. Tallie surprises Abigail with a long-desired atlas map of the state, along with some handmade knitted items and a small jar of applesauce containing a boiled egg as thoughtful gifts. As they converse, Abigail inquires about Finney, and Tallie discloses that he keeps detailed records of intruders in his journals. When Tallie broached the subject of the intruder's plans with Finney earlier that morning, His negative reaction prompted her to seek a more amiable environment by visiting Abigail. Tallie also mentions that Finney uses a ledger to monitor her visits and their duration, although she doesn't comprehend his reasons behind this behavior. Observing Tallie's departure, Dyer decides to enter the house to present his wife with her birthday gift. Meanwhile, Tallie finds herself caught in a severe snowstorm, placing her in significant peril. On Monday, March 17th, a distressing event transpires as half of their chickens mysteriously disappear. The widow Wilden's son shares the news that Tallie has returned home safely, albeit potentially suffering from frostbite. Consequently, Finney takes her to Oneonta for treatment. By Thursday, April 10th, anxiety grows as there's a lingering fear that Tallie may never return. However, Abigail persuades herself that time and patience can dissolve even the longest of mournings. She's noticed that when Tallie does return, her heart soars with joy, akin to a leaf floating peacefully over a stone in a stream. Finally, with the arrival of spring, Tallie comes back and resumes her visits to Abigail. Then, on Monday, April 14th, Tallie confides in Abigail about Finney's plan to relocate westward. Abigail responds by recounting the unfortunate fate of her uncle, who moved to Ohio and met a tragic end. 3 days later, on Thursday, April 17th, Tallie arrives for her visit later than usual without providing a reason for her delay. As is customary, Tallie assists Abigail with her daily chores and tasks. They engage in conversation about Abigail's family and reminisce about memories of days gone by. On April 25th, Tallie opens up to Abigail, admitting that she dreams of a future where they can be together. Abigail reciprocates these sentiments, and they share their first kiss, a moment filled with wonder and joy. Abigail spends her day in a joyful state, reliving a cherished memory. However, when her husband returns home and notices the unfinished chores, she realizes she has been neglecting her responsibilities. Moving ahead to Friday, May 30th, as Dyer enters the room, he observes Abigail's smile fading and questions if it was meant for someone else. Abigail deflects, mentioning the need to buy calico, buttons, and shoe thread. Just then, a knock at the door rekindles her smile as Dyer steps out to welcome Tallie. Once Dyer departs, Abigail and Tallie begin a secretive romantic relationship, meeting in the forest to discuss Tallie's conflicts with Finney. Dyer, who has become increasingly emotional following their child's death, becomes troubled by Abigail's time spent with Tallie, while Tallie's husband becomes jealous of her absences. This clandestine affair continues into June. On Sunday, June 8th, after not hearing from Tallie for 3 days, Abigail takes a risk and sneaks over to Tallie's house to see her, believing she has found a concealed spot to safely observe. However, Finney spots her, forcing her to hurriedly retreat. This escapade adds tension to their already complex situation, setting the stage for further drama in their interconnected lives. On Wednesday, June 11th, Dyer spends the day in silence, allowing Abigail some solitude. Unexpectedly, Tallie and Finney arrive with an invitation for dinner, sparking excitement in Abigail. In anticipation of the evening, she decides to purchase a new blue dress. On her way back home, she encounters a distressing scene, a house engulfed in flames with a trapped individual inside. During dinner, the conversation takes an uncomfortable turn as Finney directs it toward the topic of their late child, creating a tense atmosphere. Abigail, although participating in the discussion, can't help but notice bruises on Tallie's neck, leading to concerns about her friend's well-being. After this unsettling dinner, Tallie doesn't visit Abigail for a week, sparking worry in Abigail and prompting her to search for her friend. To her surprise, she finds Tallie's rented home abandoned, with a chilling trace of a blood-stained handkerchief left behind. Abigail, driven by fear and suspicion, insists on involving the authorities, but Dyer cautions that they need more substantial evidence before taking such action. Despite her suspicions, Abigail eventually receives a letter from Tallie, in which Tallie claims to have moved 85 miles away for undisclosed reasons. With a strong desire to see her friend, Abigail insists on visiting Tallie, and Dyer reluctantly agrees to accompany her on the journey. However, upon reaching Tallie's new location, they are met with a heart-wrenching revelation. Tallie has passed away, with her husband, Finney, attributing her death to diphtheria. Abigail goes to Tallie's lifeless body, reminiscing about the cherished moments they shared. On the last day of August, the 31st, Abigail returns to her mundane and unsatisfying life on the farm, enduring the scorching heat of the sun. She fills her days with monotonous tasks such as clearing out a cluttered shed, cleaning windows, and preparing apples for the approaching winter. Amid her chores, she entertains a comforting thought. At some point in the future, when Dyer needs to make a journey to Syracuse for livestock feed or other supplies, she envisions accompanying him. In her imagination, she envisions a scenario where she borrows his rifle and travels to Sky Needles to seek revenge on Finney by taking his life. Dyer's days revolve around the toil in the barn, and their everyday routine reflects the growing emotional chasm between them. Occasionally, they embark on evening strolls through the sprawling hills and expansive fields, seeking solace in the natural beauty around them. While they walk, Dyer attempts to reminisce about happier times from their past, while Abigail envisions Tallie and their late daughter, Nellie, finding solace together in the afterlife. Amid these contemplations, Abigail resolves to care for Dyer to the best of her abilities, despite the turmoil within her. When Dyer encourages Abigail to think of anything that might alleviate their yearning, she inadvertently finds herself picturing Tallie stepping into his role, rekindling memories of their clandestine love and awakening her suppressed longing for a life that could have been. Deep in her heart, she understands that the bond she shared with Tallie was exceptional, transcending the ordinary, and it illuminated her life with passion and happiness, even if only for a fleeting moment. Indeed, the story unfolds tragically, with each character bearing the weight of their choices and desires, and the enduring consequences of their actions. If you are interested in such films, please proceed to the next video on the screen, and also share your thoughts about this film in the comments. Give us a like and subscribe. Goodbye.